kids, Miss Melissa from the Penn Yan Public Library, and welcome back to chapters 3 and 4 of Upside Down Magic. The Hall of Magic and Performance was very grand. The ceilings were painted with dragons and unicorns. The seats were covered in dark purple velvet. The curtains on the side of the stage were gold, and a large chandelier hung from the ceiling, lit by candles. On stage was a wooden table that looked to be as old as the school itself. Nori walked onto the stage and faced the audience. Seated in the front row were 4 teachers and her father, the headmaster. He wore his second best suit. He didn't smile. He sat rigid. He didn't have to tell anyone that Nori was his daughter. Everyone knew. Nori's legs wobbled. "State your name," commanded Mr. Pruther. Nori had met him before, as she'd attended school events with her siblings. In all those times, she'd never seen him smile, not once. "Eleanor, Boxwood, Horace," she answered, "but everybody calls me Nori." Mr. Pruther drew his eyebrows together. "We will begin with the basic test, Miss Horace. If you show talent in one area of magic, we'll ask to see more of what you can do in that category." Nori nodded. "For example," continued Mr. Pruther, "the flare test will begin by lighting a match. If you can do that, we'll ask you to roast a marshmallow and then cook an egg, and so forth." Nori nodded again. "However, if you cannot light a match, you are not a flare, in which case we will move on to the next category. Do you understand?" "Yes. Please approach the table, Miss Horace." Nori stepped forward. On the table was a box. "You may open it," said Mr. Pruther. Nori opened it and pulled out a large, warty toad. It croaked and blinked its bulging eyes. "Make that toad disappear," Mr. Pruther instructed. "This is the flicker test, then," said Nori, "making things invisible like her father could." Nori figured she might as well give it a shot. It would be so great to be a flicker like her father and not a messed up fluxer. She closed her eyes. She tried to erase that toad from her mind. She really, really tried. No toad, no toad, no toad. She opened her eyes. The toad was still there. Its eyes were still bulging. The teachers made marks in their notebooks. Nori's father pursed his lips and made the toad disappear himself. Next, Mr. Pruther stepped onto the stage and produced a box of matches. He set the box onto the table, took out a single match, and held it out to Nori. "Light this for us without striking it." The flare test. Flares could manipulate fire and heat, like Hawthorne did. "Maybe I can do this one," Nori thought. She had lit a sofa on fire, after all. That time she came down with a small case of dragon. "Don't even think about it, or it might happen." Nori shook her head. "I can't," she told Mr. Pruther. The teachers made marks in their notebook. "All right then," said Mr. Pruther, "lift yourself in the air, 2 feet from the floor, precisely." "Oh," thought Nori, "a flyer test." Nori wasn't a flyer, but she had indeed flown more than once. For example, in January, she had turned into a mouse with bluebird wings and nope, they didn't want to see that. These professors wanted normal flyer flying. Nori contracted her muscles. She sensed her face turning red. Up, 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 up. She remained firmly on the floor. "Silly faces won't make you fly, Miss Horace," Mr. Pruther scolded. "Let's move on. I will summon Pookie." He whistled a short melody. A silver unicorn peeked out from behind stage. Shyly, it trotted out. "As you know, unicorns do not like mushrooms," said Mr. Pruther, "and they're skittish around most humans." A small pile of mushrooms appeared on the table in front of Nori. "Convince Pookie to nibble them from your hand." A fuzzy test, then. Animal magic. Delilah could do this in a heartbeat. Nori scooped up the mushrooms. "Here, girl," she said. "Here, Pookie." She took a step towards the unicorn. Pookie whined and stepped away. "No, Pookie, you'd like mushrooms. Yummy, yummy mushrooms." Pookie stepped back again. "Enough," said Mr. Pruther wearily, but Nori kept trying. "Come on, Pookie, be a big, brave unicorn. I won't hurt you." She took a deep breath. "Eat the mushrooms, please." Nori moved a step forward. Pookie reared her hind legs and bolted. She galloped 3 times around the stage before leaping off and thundering down the aisle. She made a sharp right in the library and disappeared up the stairs. Nori wanted to hide. 4 tests failed. Pookie afraid, Mr. Pruther exasperated, her father frozen in his seat. And still, the fluxer test would be next. She could do it. Bless me! Okay, she could do it. She knew she could. That was a way to end a chapter, huh? Chapter 4. Nori's father rose. "There's one category left," he said in a great booming voice. It was the voice he used when addressing large crowds, also sometimes at home. "Please turn yourself into a black kitten, Miss Horace." Nori concentrated hard. "Kitten," she thought. "Kitten, kitten, kitten." And like before, she felt her body shift, her vision blur, popping noises. She concentrated on details. She knew the teachers would want to see whiskers, claws, a bit of fluff in the ears, and Nori was a kitten, a black one too. From what she could see of her paws. "Very nice," said Mr. Pruther. "Yes, yes, yes, yes," girl Nori thought. Kitten Nori purred. "Dr. Horace will now check the details," said Mr. Pruther. Nori's father climbed on stage. He looked down at Kitten Nori. She jumped onto the table and licked her paw, showing off. Father's eyes were serious behind his glasses, but Kitten Nori thought he looked pleased. He bent over her. Her senses were on high alert. What was that good smell? Fish? Fish. Fish, fish, fish. "Ignore that fish," girl Nori tried to tell Kitten Nori. Father liked to eat smoked salmon for breakfast. The smell was left on his hands, that's all. But Kitten Nori couldn't help it. "Fish! No fish for you." Father reached to pet her. His hands smelled yummy. "Fish, fish, fish." Kitten Nori's jaw unhinged like a snake. A snake? Was she a snake kitten now? A snitten? Snap! Nori chomped on her father's hand with her snitten jaws. He yelped in pain and tried to shake her off, but she held on. "Fish! Stop it now! Fish! It's not a salmon, it's father! Fish! You will never get into Sage Academy if you eat the headmaster! Fish! Stop! Fish! Your entire future is at stake." "Oh, fine." With a retch, snitten Nori let go of her father's hand. Slowly, Nori felt the snake in her disappear. Phew. Now she was just a kitten again. A good black kitten, she was pretty sure. Or maybe she could pass the test after all. It'd only been a minute of snitten. Maybe they didn't even notice. Nori felt a tingling in her shoulders. "What's happening?" She squirmed to look. Oh, no. She'd sprouted wings, enormous wings that were 3 times the size of her kitten body. Huge claws burst from her kitten paws, flap. Roar! Roar! She leapt into the air. She swooped around the auditorium with her big dragon wings. She was a full-on kitten dragon again. How awesome is this? Dritten Nori thought. So awesome! Girl Nori disagreed. "No, not awesome. Just be a normal kitten." But Dritten Nori would not listen. "No way. Flying is too much fun. Maybe it's time to breathe some fire, yeah?" "No fire," thought Girl Nori. "Yes, fire," thought the Dritten. And that unicorn, what a yummy snack a unicorn would be. "Wait," thought Girl Nori. "Stop. Calm down. Calm down. Fly lower." Maybe she could still fix things. In fact, she had an idea. A good idea. If the idea worked, Nori might get into Sage Academy after all. Dritten Nori flew down from the high ceiling in the hall. As the teachers watched, she flapped her wings and hovered over the stage, 2 feet above the floor precisely, just like the flyer test. Did the teachers notice? Yes, they did. They were scribbling in their notebooks. But then, because she might as well try, Dritten Nori went for the flare test. With a great poof, she set the entire box of matches on fire. Whoa! Fluxer, flyer, and flare? That was 3 out of the 5 categories. Would they consider her a triple talent? Even if they didn't, that would be okay. She had big magic, and it was worth something. Or was she really, really failing the big test? Her sudden doubt knocked the excitement out of her, and she turned back into a girl. "Thank you very much for testing me," Nori said. She forced a smile just the way Hawthorne had told her to. She used her very best manners. The teachers continued making marks in their notebook, but Father couldn't. He was cradling his swelling, bleeding hand. The teachers looked stern. Finally, they stopped writing and put their hands together. They whispered fiercely. Nori went cold. Mr. Pruther looked up. "Miss Horace, I'm sorry. We can't have such wonky magic here at Sage Academy, no matter how big your power and no matter who your family is. But your magic is damaged somehow." Nori looked at her father. Her father looked at her. "Agreed," he said grimly. "Eleanor Boxwood Horace, your admission is denied." Would you want to do one more chapter? Why not? Let's do one more chapter. Chapter 5. That evening, Father and Hawthorne picked at their dinner. Delilah only ate half a turnip. Nori couldn't even imagine that. Her throat was clogged with held-back tears. No one talked about what happened. No one spoke at all. As soon as he finished his food, Father turned invisible and went to his still invisible office. He didn't come out the rest of the night. Hawthorne let Nori stay up late in front of the television. He made her toasted marshmallows. Delilah coaxed a rabbit to cuddle in Nori's lap. Still, they didn't talk about what happened, not that night or any of the days and nights afterward. Nori wasn't sure what happened to kids who didn't get into any schools. Nobody would tell her, and the one time she asked Hawthorne, he said not to worry about it now. Lots of kids went to public school, but Father didn't like them. He would hire a governess maybe and teach her at home. Summer stretched towards fall. Nori played with her friends in the Woodydale Ordinary School. She heard them talking about the schools they'd gotten into. She admired their new talents without ever showing them hers. And she read books. She watched movies. She kicked the soccer ball around the yard. She remained scared to ask Father what would happen to her when school started, so she didn't. One cool August night, Father's phone beeped during dinner. He checked it and pushed back his chair. "She's on her way," he said to Hawthorne. "You'll take care of everything?" Hawthorne hesitated, then he dropped his gaze. "I will." Father strode from the room, going invisible as he did. "Who's on her way?" said Nori. "What will you be taking care of?" Hawthorne lit his paper napkin on fire and put it out again. Delilah offered a spoonful of jam to a ferret at her feet. "What's going on?" Nori persisted. "I'm here!" called a vibrant voice from outside. Through the open kitchen window flew a sturdy-looking white woman. She wore jeans and sneakers. Her short hair was sticking up every which way. She swerved neatly into the dining room and lowered herself gently onto the floor. Nori's mouth fell open. It was Aunt Margot. She hadn't visited since Nori's mother had died 6 years before. Margot hugged Hawthorne and Delilah, saving Nori for last. "Oh, my little Nori, you've grown so big." "I have. And I hear you're quite a talent. Have you got your stuff?" "Huh?" Aunt Margot's eyebrows shot up. "Shirt, jeans, jammies, your toothbrush? I'll come back for your cold weather clothes, but you'll need the basics." Nori turned to Delilah and Hawthorne. They wouldn't meet her eyes. "Oh, seriously?" said Aunt Margot. "Did they not tell you?" "Tell me what?" said Nori. "Sheesh. Why doesn't anyone in this family talk about anything?" "Sorry," said Hawthorne. "I was getting around to it." Aunt Margot lifted off the floor so high she nearly touched the dining room ceiling. She banged on it with her fist. "You need to talk about things, Stone," she hollered to Nori's father. "It's bad to not talk about things with your own children." Nori gasped. "He won't listen to me," Margot said, lowering herself back to the floor. "He never did, and he never will. But it still feels good to speak my mind." Nori thought would feel even better to change the subject. "Father said you drive a taxi?" he blurted. "He said you don't get paid much. Actually, he said you're poor, which is why we haven't seen you in forever." "Nori!" Delilah scolded. "Meh," said Aunt Margot. "I'm not poor. I'm just not rich. And I don't drive a taxi. I am a taxi." She pointed to the logo on the front of her shirt. "Double M Flying Taxi." Despite herself, Nori was impressed. All flyers would fly, or they wouldn't be flyers, but very few could take passengers. Hawthorne went to the coat closet and pulled out a blue duffel bag. He put it by the front door. "I got her packed," he said, not talking to Nori. Nori's lip trembled. "Father's getting rid of me because I flunked the big test?" "It's not like that," said Delilah. "It's just for a little while," Hawthorne promised. "For your education," said Delilah. "You can come back to visit on holidays. It'll be fun." "He's ashamed of me," said Nori. Her eyes teared up. "You're all ashamed of me." Aunt Margot shook her head. "Not true. They want what's best for you. And I can't wait to get to know you again." The energy drained from Nori's body. "Father, Hawthorne, Delilah, the 2 bats, 3 toads, the ferret, the toucan, the pair of mice, and the 12 rabbits. None of them wanted her." Hawthorne handed Nori's duffel to Aunt Margot. "What about a coat?" said Margot. "Does she have a jacket?" Hawthorne said, "Get your jacket." Aunt Margot told Nori. Nori did. "Button it up." Nori did. "Say goodbye to Hawthorne and Delilah." In a fog, Nori said goodbye. "Hold on to my shoulders now," said Aunt Margot, "and whatever you do, don't let go." The night air tingled on Nori's skin. The moon, just rising, glowed bright. Down below, the towers of Sage Academy disappeared. Then, the lights of Nori's hometown were gone too. Nori and Margot flew over black blobs that looked like forests and black blobs that looked like buildings. The roads were lit with street lights and tiny cars. At one point, a family of crows flew alongside of them. Nori reached out to touch them, but they swooped away. Aunt Margot wasn't chatty. She was concentrating. Eventually, they flew down to the lights of the small town built on a hillside. 2 little houses with porches were jammed up against one another, many of them looking bright and lit inside. Aunt Margot landed in a yard full of flowers next to a very small, very old wooden house. A battered welcome sign hung on the door. "This is your new home," Aunt Margot said proudly. "Number 14 Clover Drive in Dunwhiddle." She pointed to the right. 6 blocks that way and 4 blocks that way is the Dunwhiddle Magic School. What kind of school is it?" said Nori. "It's a school," said Aunt Margot. "A public school." Nori's legs quivered. It's a nice place, Margot continued. Not fancy like Sage Academy, which I would agree is a good thing. Just a school where you can learn lots and make friends and have fun. Oh, said Nori, but will they know what to do with my... She couldn't get out the words, messed up magic. Yes, said Margot. They have a new program geared towards students like you. Like me. Well, not exactly like you, because there's only one Nori. Aunt Margot smiled at her as if being Nori wasn't a bad thing. But the school has just started a class for kids who struggle with magic. It's new this year. Isn't that exciting? Struggle with magic? Oh, no. Nori had heard rumors of programs like this. There was a few in New York City and one in Miami. She got to be in a particular class of the worst of the wonky. What's it called? Nori asked. She had a bad feeling in her gut. Aunt Margot walked up to the door of the house and unlocked it. It's called Upside Down Magic. All right, friends. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.